All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Fortune teller, fortune teller, fortune teller, can you see what my future's going to be? Can you see it all in your crystal ball? Have you got a dream for me? Fortune teller, is she free? Has she waited just for me? You can see it all in your crystal ball. Tell me that it's meant to be. Tell me, tell me, tell me.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone, hour number 2 of tonight's show, and we're coming to you still from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, Voice of Canada Broadcast Network. And you know, I can go on and on and on, but I won't. I just will remind everyone that you're listening to us in your car, at home, or at the office on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM here in St. Catharines, just down the street from our studios here. And they stream us online and around the world on your hometown classic, classic1220.ca. Exonation, my guest this hour is a young lady I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years now. Her name is Tara Greene, and we're going to be talking to Tara about astrology, tarot reading, Dreamwork, women's spirituality, ceremonialists, teacher. She's a writer, workshop leader, and a real nice lady. Joining me now from Sedona, Arizona, is Tara Taro. And Tara, welcome back to the X Zone. Always great having you with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Rob. It's always nice to be back. I don't remember how many years. It's definitely over 10 years. Maybe it's longer than that, I've been invited to be here on the X Zone, so it's really great to be back again.
Well, thank you for coming on. You and I were talking before we went to air that you're actually in Sedona, Arizona right now.
Yeah, I've been here since the beginning of March. I mean, it really is my spiritual home, and I hadn't been here in 5.5 years. So it's just been nice. I mean, people in Canada, of course, with all the politics, we won't get into that, but are thinking it's not safe for me to be here or something, which is not true. Sedona is like a little Shangri-La. It's kind of in its own little bubble. So, I came here to kind of like tune into the energies, the vortexes. Sedona is very famous for that kind of heightened spiritual energy.
Now, what was it like the first time you went to Sedona?
Well, I was literally called here by Spirit in 1986. I literally got the message. My spirit guides often ring a bell. And the bell rang really loudly, and I'd never heard of it, and talked this over with my ex-husband, and he said, well, we have to go there because my favorite artist, Max Ernst, lived here, which he did in the 40s when there was 40 people here. So, it was very quiet. There was one stoplight. If you've been to Sedona, there was one stoplight right at the Y there. There was only about 3,000 or 4,000 people. It was very quiet. There was no police force, no firemen. But the energy is still the same. In fact, I remember I had a dream about in the future that all these people were going to come, and it didn't really change the energy, of course, but it's very, very busy here. Especially it's still considered spring break here, which lasts a month and a half here. So it's been very, very busy. But, it's still beautiful. Everybody comes to tune into the energy and the beauty and all the spiritual stuff that goes on here constantly.
As I was telling you before we went on here, we have a guest who's a frequent guest, and he's a friend here of the X Zone. His name is Peter Sterling, and he does tours in Sedona, but he's also an award-winning harpist. And,
interesting.
Very, very nice man. And when I can't believe all the experiences that people who go to Sedona seem to have, and why is Sedona such a spiritual place, Tara?
Well, I mean, they have done geological studies. Actually, Graham Hancock,
Mm-hmm.
is now really famous for being on Netflix,
Yep.
was here last weekend doing a whole workshop, and somebody was talking about the reason, they've actually tested it. The electromagnetic frequencies are extremely high. They've tested all of this across America. Sedona has one of the highest energies. These electromagnetic energies is very strong, and that's why people have these natural spiritual energies here. Plus, it's really the focus. People really live very consciously spiritual, and I meet people like this all the time. They really, walk their talk. They're really living it. It's not just lip service, you know what I mean? And so it really changes how people interact. And it is still a small town and mainly a, kind of wealthy retirement town as well. With I think they get 5 million tourists here a year now. I mean, it's kind of crazy. But, people come for that energy,
Well, again, thank you very much for joining us, Tara. And you touched briefly on the stress between Canada and the United States. And, what do you see for 2025?
No.
And what is going on?
Whoop.
Tara?
So, Rob, you're going in and out for some reason.
Oh,
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Yes, I can. I can hear you fine.
Okay. You keep going in and out on my end.
Oh, no.
Okay. The stress that's going on is mainly, from my point of view, astrology. It's the astrology. And the whole world is going through a huge shift, which we then see reflected, on the mundane level, right? So this is truly, 2025 is truly a very, very rare alignment of planets. The planets changing signs all at the same time hasn't happened since 580 BC.
Wow.
So that's 2,500 years. So, I was kind of joking about, nobody alive remembers that unless you really remember being here in a past life, then you can, kind of figure out how to navigate.
Right. And
if people think, things have been changing so fast, it's even going to get faster. So it is when we change, the planets change into different signs, some for longer, some for shorter periods of time, it affects everybody. And so this year, 2025, is kind of a preview. It's like a little appetizer, like, okay, here, we're going to kind of give you a sense of what it's going to look like when all these planets change sign. Pluto, which is still a planet in the way I do astrology, and to me, one of the most powerful ones, decided to stay in Aquarius since 2023, and it'll be there till 2044. So that's a 20-year-long cycle, and Pluto rules generations. So Aquarius is all about AI and cryptocurrency and radical changes and protests and freedom and, reorganizing society structure.
And we've certainly seen a lot of that lately with what's going on geopolitically in the world. A lot of protests in the United States. And of course, we up here in Canada keep our elbows up.
Right.
And,
so we're seeing that radical changing structure reflected in, whoever is really in charge. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, it's what's happened before in the past. So if you go back and look at what astrology is really good for, is looking at, well, here's what happened last time this happened 250 years ago. Well, the French Revolution started, or there was, the end of the slave trade in Britain. So major historical events can be tied to these bigger cycles, and then you can kind of predict, well, this is what's going to happen again. It's not exactly the same because we're on another kind of higher spiral of time, but it's very similar themes and events and situations reoccur.
How does astrology work? Like, I'm always amazed when you're on the show, and because your predictions based on the astrology that you do is always dead on. And what is the history of astrology? Where did it originate from? And how did they have so much knowledge that they were actually able to apply it to become so right on?
Well, I mean, astrology is a very ancient, I call it a science, going back at least 8,000 years from India. Now, there's different, Like, for example, seeing Graham Hancock's, series on Netflix, he's into this very ancient, 12,800-year-old, advanced civilization that was wiped out during that cataclysm. So people had been studying the stars for thousands of years. It is naked eye observation. Somebody was always out at night. I mean, I kind of like remember this in my cellular memory, being up at night watching the stars. It was passed down, by word of mouth. The stars move 1 degree every 72 years. So, for example, to figure out how big that is, the sun is 2 degrees wide. So if you live to be 72 years old, you would see a star, not a planet, move 1 degree, which is quite small, but still trackable. And also, the ancients were very concerned about eclipses, solar eclipses. When the sun went into a total solar eclipse like we just had this year, they saw it as a dragon eating the sun. So this is also very ancient, from China, from India. Chinese really tracked eclipses. People were afraid that, the world was going to end. So they needed to know, when is this going to happen again?
I understand that the Chinese and that the people in India were right into astrology. Mm-hmm. But what about the indigenous folk here in Canada?
Well, there's very, very ancient stories in all indigenous people. They believe that we were seeded by beings that came from Sirius or from the Pleiades. Mm-hmm. Now, those myths exist all over the world. In the middle of Africa, in Peru, in the Mayans worship Venus, for example. They believe that there was these gods, if you watch Graham Hancock, he talks about it, that those myths are not myths. They are based on facts, that people kept this tradition alive. And of course, it's passed down through thousands and thousands of generations.
Now, in your opinion, there are monoliths around the world. We have the Nazca Plains. Well, that's not really a monolith, but it's very unique. It's very mysterious. We have the pyramids in Mexico. We have the pyramids in Egypt. And in the big scheme of things, Tara, where do these monoliths fit into the world of which you and I talk about all the time? And is there a relationship to the Stonehenge when it comes to the other monoliths around the world? Like, are they connected some way?
They are. They're all connected on ley lines, which are energy lines that dowsers, for example, have tracked. I mean, that's sort of been widely known for a long time. Plus, all of the big monuments in the world are all tied directly into star systems, into constellations. The 3 pyramids are an exact replica of the 3 stars in Orion's belt. That's one of the most identifiable constellations in the sky. Orion the hunter, we call him in this culture. So they're directly aligned. So they were literally beaming themselves up, connected to that star system, which people now infer, well, they must have come from that constellation.
Tara, you and I have to take our first break, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Tara Tarot, or Tara Greene, as we love calling her, her website is www.taratarot.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, and we'll be back on the other side of this short break as we continue here from the broadcast center of the X Zone Broadcast Network in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And we're coming to you on your local AM radio station from the studios of your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming us at classic1220.ca. Don't go away.
Fortune teller, can you see what my future's
Cold late nights so long ago when I was not so strong, put back into
And welcome back. And yes, I am the Magic Man, so I'm told. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. My guest this hour is Tara Greene, or Tara Tarot, as she's known and loved by millions around the world. And I'll tell you a little bit about Tara. Tara is a high priestess, natural-born psychic. She remembers her past lives and multidimensional origins. Internationally renowned Canadian tarot reader, astrologer, woman spirituality, dream worker, workshop leader, and lipstick reader for Gucci, Estee Lauder, and others. A trained artist and transformational psychotherapist and dream worker, as well as past life regressionist. Now, I'm sure somebody out there is saying, what is a lipstick reader?
Well, this was something, like just like a palm print, read a hand. If women put on their lipstick, or anybody puts on lipstick and then they kiss a blotter, I can read that as a psychic impression, and it's really fun. So it got to be very popular I'm usually hired by Holt Renfrew. I've worked with them for over 20 years. And,
wow.
Individual makeup companies, Estee Lauder, Gucci, whatever. And I go there and people do this and I read their lips, and it's amazing what shows up, because I see numbers, I see animals, I see, whatever comes through. I never know, right? It's totally different. It's really fun. People are quite blown away by it as well. So it's kind of a modern thing.
It sounds like it's almost as unique as a fingerprint.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And also the lips, because the lips are also, relate more to the body, right? So it's really going to show immediate health issues and things like that. And I am a kind of, I do medical intuitive work as well with people. So I just sort of say, this is what I see coming up, or maybe you should do this, that kind of energy as well. So it's very much emotional stuff and what they're going through immediately, and ancestors, and it's quite amazing what shows up in those kinds of readings.
Tara, you've told us many times that you knew you were from another dimension and not from this earth. For the listeners who are just joining us for the first time as we keep growing here in the X Zone, can you explain to them a little bit about your past and how you knew that you were from another dimension?
Well, my earliest memories were as being a child, and just knowing that it's I'm not from here. I was 3 years old having temper tantrums because I knew my parents couldn't teach me anything.
Wow.
And I was very frustrated. What am I doing here, and how did I get stuck here? Kind of because I remember that what they talk about now in quantum physics is everything's happening at the same time. So that kind of non-locality. And I remember just being able to think of something and it would magically appear. And it was oh my God, you have to go through so much work here to make something physical happen. So I felt very kind of frustrated and kind of abandoned. And, so I didn't have all the memories, but I had more of the memories of I don't come from here. What am I doing here? Kind of, that kind of thing. So even though on another level, my parents were kind of normal people. They couldn't teach me anything. They had no idea. And I do believe that you choose your parents and your time of birth and your place of birth. And that's what your astrology chart reflects, a kind of a soul map. So for whatever reason, I needed to be there in this place and time when I was born in Toronto. And I was born 2 months premature as well, which was also kind of an interesting thing because I spent the first 2 months of my life in an incubator. So that was not really a normal kind of thing either, kind of left on my own to my own devices at a very young age. But I kept meeting people. People would out of the blue just come up and give me messages you're a teacher, and people would say, I remember you as this other person. And I was recognized as a Native American man by an indigenous elder years ago when I was a teenager. So, and I started to just have out-of-body experiences from the time I was 12, and also lucid dreams from the time I was very young.
It must have been very frustrating for you as a child growing up, being who you are and kind of being trapped in another time zone.
Well, sort of. And especially in those days, this was in the 50s, right? This was everything was very straight and narrow, and there was no information out there. It's not like now, everybody can learn to be an astrologer, and everybody's a shaman, and everybody's a tarot reader. And there was none of that, the word witch was a bad thing, or the word goddess I didn't really hear. I mean, I loved Greek mythology, and so yes, I heard about goddesses and the whole history of Greek history. I love that, the oracles, and that all felt like that, like thrilled me, and fairy stories and all of that stuff. So, it was just like I had to kind of figure it out myself. That's all.
Do you believe in past lives?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
hmm
What is the purpose of us to keep coming back one
Well,
life to the next?
we have like unfinished lessons,
Mhm.
things that we need to finish, and really when people talk about soulmates, which I believe has been very kind of corrupted into commercialized. We have lots of soulmates. Soulmates just means people you've known in a past life, and usually it's your parents, your spouse, your children, the people you love, the people you can't stand are also people you've been connected to in a past life. And so we're drawn back to people. So when people say, "Oh, I met this person and it felt so amazing," I call that the karmic glue,
Something like
drawing you together.
something like deja vu.
Well, no, not like deja vu.
No?
It's like, when you meet someone, you feel like, wow, I recognize this person. I don't know why.
Oh,
I felt
right.
like I've
Yeah.
known them before. Yeah, okay, you would call that deja vu. But what I'm talking about is the process is like it's in our emotional bodies that we remember. And that's the kind of energy that connects us, that draws us to that person. When people fall in love, that's always a karmic thing.
It seems that it's like we're all actors on a grand stage, and the script keeps changing as we go from lifetime to lifetime, but the actors remain the same.
Right, right. And in fact, if you really, in terms of quantum physics, it's all happening at the same time anyway. Right? So we're here to experience things in the emotional body. That's really why we incarnate here, because it's a very special, it's like biggest change happens through emotional growth. But we're much more than who we are here on Earth.
So, what happens to us when time comes that we've just exhausted this meat suit that we are, and our spirit is released? What happens then?
Well, I really think that a lot of that has to do with your belief system. So for people who are atheists who think that's it, I'm just here in my physical incarnation, that's it. It's ended. That's what they get. It really is your consciousness. If religious people, of course, in every different religion, they believe, if you're a Christian, of course, Jesus is going to come and be there, and the apostles and Mary, and I'm going to go be in heaven with those people, all the people I loved, all the good people. And if you're a Buddhist, it's totally different because you want to escape the whole thing. You want to become a bodhisattva and leave this whole meat wheel.
Yeah.
And most religions believe in reincarnation. All the indigenous people did. They all leave offerings. They still do that in China today, in Japan. To their ancestors. They give thanks for their ancestors for, making us be here, which is a kind of a beautiful, powerful thing.
But if reincarnation is real, and please believe me, I'm not saying it isn't. If it is real, then, geez, I lost my thought on that one. Sign of old age. Let me see if I can work this out right. If past lives are real, and we keep coming back because we still have work to do, or messages, or challenges, or whatever, when does it stop? Like, do we just keep coming back over and over and over like a loop on a reel-to-reel tape deck?
No, I think that, the more your consciousness is the more aware you are, the more conscious you are, the more you really understand that, in essence, we are just spiritual beings, having this temporary thing. The more you realize that you're really like what we would call God or a goddess or all that is, or the great mystery, however you want to put that we're all part of that. We're all interconnected. There is no difference between me and you and 8 billion people on the planet. That would be a totally enlightened way of seeing it. And until you really get that fully, that would be like an enlightening experience. You're going to have to keep coming back and back until you get it.
Are we in what Christians and Catholics call the end times, or as read about or written in the book of Revelation?
Well, some people say that, and honestly, I think at every critical change in the world, people feel that. They've been predicting this for thousands of years, and I think it gives people comfort or impetus, you know what I mean, to believe that, right?
And belief is the strongest power in the universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So back to that thing about what happens to you after you die. What
Mm-hmm.
you believe in is what you get, you know?
What you believe in is what you get.
Yeah, that's your consciousness. Your consciousness attracts, creates, manifests. We are creators. Anything you think about, you create.
Yeah, that's the old saying, if you confess it, you will possess it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Based on your experience, how could a child or a parent bringing a child to an astrologer like yourself help the child in their life? Help them to plan the route that they're destined to take. Would this help take any roadblocks away from the child's development and allow them to focus?
Well, I think it's good for the parents to know, what kind of child you're dealing with, and we do have free will. Traditional astrology, they don't believe in free will. They believe it's a fait accompli. You know what I mean? There are things you can do, like in India, they do mantras. You can pay people to do mantras. You wear big gemstones. I mean, you do pujas, you do cleansings, you do offerings, you give to charity. You know what I mean? All of that will kind of rebalance your negative karma or difficulties, right? So it's really good for the parents to understand, here's what my child's all about, because each child is different and their soul chose that parent, right, for their own greatest growth. So you would want to kind of understand, how can I best serve this child? What are they going to need? And they are wired to the age that they're going to grow into. So the children that are born now are kind of wired for 20 years from now.
Tara, you and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exonation, Tara Greene is our special guest. Her website is taratarot.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't forget, let me see, next Monday, being April the 28th, is Election Day in Canada. Don't forget, go out and vote. It's a right. It's a privilege. Something to be proud of. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on X, it's x.com/xzoneradiotv. Tara and I return on the other side of this very short break, so whatever you do, don't go away. Tara Greene is my special guest of this hour, Exonation, www.taratarot.com. And Tara is based in Toronto, but she's joining us today from Sedona, Arizona. Tara, have you seen a change in the questions that people are asking you when they sit down and ask you for a reading?
Well, I think people are always concerned with the same things, their relationship, their career, their health, family. That doesn't change. But I think people are more worried and a bit more scared about what's going to happen. They want to, is it going to get better? We've been through enough already, People want some kind of reassurance that it's not going to keep going like this, right? Because they want to find some kind of peace or balance, or, they can't deal with all the society changes.
What do you see for the year 2025? How will it end up? Because like you said, this is a crazy world out there these days. We have what's happening between the United States and Canada, the United States and the rest of the world, geopolitical problems, financial, tariffs. Then you've got what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, and then you've got the Chinese giving or loaning or assisting, Russia with their fight against the Ukraine. Then you've got a level of negativity that I've never seen in all my years between Canada and the United States.
Yeah, I know. I find that really strange. And it's kind of like a continuation of what happened during COVID, like that kind of, it's a planned opposition.
It is, yeah.
I really, because it's like divide and conquer. And that's the challenge for people who are really spiritual, is to see through that. And it's very practical, Now, 2025, as I mentioned before, is a very rare year because 4 planets change sign in 1 year. Okay, they will also do this in 2026. So I mentioned this is just the preview. So for example, Pluto is already in Aquarius. This is big society change. The planet Uranus, which rules technology, crypto, society change, freedom, protest, will enter the sign of Gemini in July, and that only happens once every 84 years. The planet Neptune, which rules spirituality, creativity, debt, viruses, oil. They rule addictions, mental illness, all the things that have been in the news. Neptune has just changed sign also this year, and it hasn't done that since 1861. Now, the last time that happened, the Civil War broke out within 1 day. So all astrologers are kind of, been predicting, it's likely that, the U.S. is back to where it was when it, in the Civil War.
Oh my gosh.
So you see these things just playing out. So since March 30th, Neptune entered, and 0 degrees of Aries is like the first beginning degree of the zodiac. There are 360 degrees in a circle. So this represents a brand new beginning. It's like the Big Bang, right? So the last time Neptune entered Aries, there was a whole new spiritual paradigm. People were into mediumship. Photography became very popular. There was the pre-Raphaelite kind of energy, oil. All kinds of things became popular in the culture. And so we're expecting another kind of spiritual change, new beginnings, and we're changing elements, which is very important. And then the planet Jupiter enters Cancer in July. The planet Saturn, which represents reality, also enters Aries, and they will join Saturn and Neptune. Saturn enters Aries May 24th. So this signifies brand new beginnings as well, and a kind of breakdown and a kind of structural dissolution. It's like spiritual warriors, and it's like the reality check. So that starts May 24th. And then the planets are going to move back into the signs they were in. So this is just like a little preview. February 20th, 2026 is a big date because these 2 planets, Saturn, which rules corporations, it rules maturity, it rules real physical things, rules seniors, goes into this new sign of warriors. So, it is kind of like there's many, many different ways that astrologers are predicting this works. But it's literally, it's like a spiritual warrior or a spiritual war going on. Aries is the sign of war. So a very masculine, very fiery energy coming in, all fire and air, which were coming out of a much more earthy and emotional time. So then all of those planets then move into these new signs in 2026. Some are going to stay there. Neptune stays there for 14 years. Uranus stays there for 7 years. Jupiter stays for 1 year. Saturn stays for 2.5 years. So, basically people are predicting, and there's some more modern astrology called human design. And the guy who channeled that was a guy from Montreal, actually. It's a very modern form of astrology that's become quite popular with younger people. He says 2027 is this huge higher consciousness shift. So before any major consciousness shift, things break down. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the breakdown.
When we look at the changes that are going on in our dimension, do dimensions shift? For example, does one dimension get closer to a second dimension, causing interference between the dimensions? Or are the dimensions fixed?
No, they're not fixed. Everything's moving all the time. The more you get into understanding, and they're making incredible discoveries on the quantum physics level, everything is moving. Nothing is solid. there's more space than there is any kind of solid particles, right? So
Yes.
everything's moving all the time. Change is the nature of the whole universe. Nothing's static.
We've got the election coming up on the 28th. Any predictions?
Well, I'm still going to get into that. So I don't want to talk about it right now, but I'm going to write about that. And, because I do election predictions and I've done them before. And I remember I actually predicted Justin Trudeau was going to win in 2014, and he was nowhere on the radar. So, I'm going to look at that. I don't want to say right now, but I will write about it on my blog, and I'll probably do a little video about it as well, because I have to look at all the different Carney and Polyev and, what's happening with Canada and the U.S.
Yes.
Like, Canada and U.S. both have their sun signs. They're both Cancerian countries, very close to the brightest, most beautiful star in the sky called Sirius, which is what the ancient Egyptians worshipped. So they're both tied to that brightest, biggest, most beautiful star in the sky for a reason.
I remember talking to you a couple of times ago, and I really can't remember when, but you were telling me about a lucid dream that you had as a child when President Kennedy passed away. Could you share that with our listeners?
Oh, basically, it was before he died. I had seen him being killed, and that I kind of met him in an afterlife, and he was kind of shook up and kind of sad that he was leaving his wife and his children behind, and the people who believed in him and bringing this new Camelot. But he kind of just said it's going to be okay, but it was more of a political power shift. He had really tried to bring something new and much more. What was the word? He wanted to do a lot of stuff with the money system, and there's all kinds of things, right? And I think now they're just supposedly revealing all the JFK files that were classified. I think that's all just sort of coming out now as well.
Yeah,
and RFK Jr.
I was able to get a copy of all the files, and there was no smoking gun. And I don't know if the smoking gun was deliberately kept out, or there is no smoking gun. I don't know, but a lot of people are still going line by line by line when it comes to that.
I think that was the definitive change in politics. Kennedy being killed, right?
You also had a beautiful ET experience with two witnesses.
Yeah, that was very special. So I was with my future husband and another woman who was a follower of Osho. He was called Bhagwan Rajneesh. So this was before, I think he had just started his ashram in the States, right? And before all that crazy stuff happened. And she was going to visit this woman named Maria Sabina, who's now a very famous, like a magic mushroom healer. She was like a seer and a healer. And anyway, we were on the beach, and we were all very straight. Nobody was stoned. Nobody was drunk. And we used to like to look at the stars in the sky. And one of us said, oh, look, there's a falling star. Except that, falling stars usually burn out. And this one didn't. It went sort of stopped in the middle of the sky. And we all went, oh, well, that's interesting. And then I saw it start to wobble. And what I saw was that it made this infinity symbol going from right to left, sort of down and up and crossing over. And then that star started to get bigger, and it was coming down. And I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. It was like around 10 o'clock at night. It was dark. We were looking out over the ocean there. And, but the three of us all saw the same thing. And then this star, as it came down closer to us, it started to take the form of a bird, but still looking like starlight. And then as it came closer to us over the island, when we saw it coming in and it hit the light of the island, it turned into this jet black, like an inky black shadow. And there's no way you would have seen it unless you were tracking it like we were. So this jet black kind of black hole kind of shadow flying around still over the island. And we're going, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. Now, my ex-husband got very scared. He thought there was ETs coming, and he was really paranoid. And he said, because all the cattle had their blood sucked out of them in whatever, in somewhere in the States. And I went, no, it's okay. This is the miracle I always knew I was going to see. So we kind of lose this bird. We called it the starbird for a minute, and then we see it coming back down, wheeling over down the beach and coming back. And then as it goes back out over the ocean, the minute it's out of the light of the island, it's like ping back to starlight again, starboard. And then it just goes and zips out of sight, like in 2 seconds, goes right back to where we initially saw it and disappears.
Based on the readings that you've done and how you're gifted enough to peep into the future around the corner, do you think that we'll ever get disclosure when it comes to UFOs and ETs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, there's already more of that going on, and I think they're disclosing some things at a time, not to freak people out, but that's a prediction that's been going on for a long time, especially in Sedona. Sedona is a big place where people are really into ETs. And, there's pictures on, if you're on TikTok or whatever, there's pictures, people see these things all over the world now.
You and I have to take our final break for this hour, my young friend. Please stand by, Tara, and Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, Tara Greene, or maybe you'd like to get a one-on-one consultation with Tara. Visit her website, www.taratarot.com. That's TARATAROT.com. Tara and I will be back on the other side of this short break as we wrap up this hour and tonight's show here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Voice of Canada Broadcast Network, and of course, my favorite AM radio station, Classic 1220, CFAJ here in St. Catharines, streaming us around the world on classic1220.ca. Exonation, Tara Tarot is our guest, or should I say Tara Greene is our guest. Her website is www.taratarot.com. Tara, are you into dream interpretation?
Oh yeah, no, I ran dream groups for years and years, and
Really?
I've been writing down my dreams since I was really young.
Are dream patterns changing?
Yeah, I think more people are realizing, because it's a very ancient study. I mean, it was in the Bible, having dreams interpreted, right?
Right.
That they were like messengers from gods, or, however people interpreted them. That people are learning that, your dreams are really your soul kind of giving you information, encoded they speak in symbols, they talk in their own language. You can't really decipher them from our ego consciousness when we're awake. But so I really like James Hillman, who was a Jungian psychotherapist who kind of broke away from that because he thought it was a cult, and he went back to ancient Greek modalities of healing through dreams. And so I think, there's a whole movement into psychedelics and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's also kind of part of that ancient tradition. So there is a kind of like an ancient yearning for going back to those old ways of doing things. That's also part of this cultural shift.
When dreaming, what is the physiological aspect of our body when we're dreaming?
Well, I mean, science talks about, you're in different REM states, they track the brain, so you can have lucid dreams when you're in a very deep state of relaxation, or if you do hypnotherapy or past life regression, those you're more conscious, but you're still in this relaxed, open state. So the contents of the unconscious, or the connections to other dimensions are very open. So that's why people have meditated for a long time. It's very easy for them to access direct information.
Now, when people start listening to the word meditation, a number of the people still picture the yogi doing the lotus position. Is that just one way of meditating?
Absolutely. That's just one way. Now, that's a tradition from India, which was widespread, but any form of where you get out of your head, and people are a lot in their heads these days, and especially everybody's overstimulated by the cell phones and the computers. You need to get out in nature. It's just, or if you're doing sports, people are really, it was famous for people running and getting in that zone. That's a kind of meditation. They're high from getting out of their normal everyday consciousness. So people are now, using magic mushrooms. It's very popular. They're using this to cure people of addictions, using ayahuasca and all those kinds of things. But you don't need the drugs. You don't even need the plant medicines. They can, speed you up very quickly. You just have to learn to get out of your own way, kind of.
After I do the show, I usually stick around here until 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning because there's so much to do. When I get home, I just sit in the living room, all the lights off, and we have a beautiful view of the lake in the city of Toronto in the horizon. And I just sit in quietness. And I'm telling you, a lot of ideas that I have, or if I've had a problem to work on during the day and I get frustrated because I just can't get the solution, comes to me during this time of when I'm just relaxing and opening up to the universe.
Right. So that's a form of meditation, And it's also very helpful to sit in the dark. I find even in the city where it's, there's so much, cell phone towers and all that stuff, which is quite disruptive too. Even if you just turn off the lights and you sit in the dark, like right away, it gets to be very magical. So people do need to take a break from all the cell phone stuff as much as possible. And getting out to nature, hugging a tree, putting your back against a tree, just slowing down and being in the present. That's really all it is.
I remember one time you and I were talking, and you basically said to me, we need to stop and smell the roses. We need to ground ourselves back with nature. And I guess in today's society, like you were mentioning, everybody's got the cell phone, but we're in a cycle now where the news cycle is 724, 365 on multiple levels. And I really don't believe that this could be very good for our psyches.
No, it's not. And actually, but we're going to use these tools. This is what Aquarius is all about. It's a dual-natured sign. It's an air sign representing the mind, ideas, communication. Some people are really going to want to, beam their consciousness up into a machine, an AI, and AI can be a useful tool spiritually as well. And other people are going to want to create a new kind of society where people are all equal. So that's really what we're seeing manifest right now. But yeah, you have to kind of elevate your consciousness. It is a kind of challenge. This is the challenge of this age, to stay focused, to stay conscious, to not sort of get caught up in all that energy. And it is pervasive. And so, but you can listen to different hertz, different, on YouTube, they have all these different, you resonate to the harmonics of the earth, or sound healing has become very popular because of that, or even toning, where you just tone vowel symbols. That's a really simple, effective, you can do it yourself. I mean, everybody's going to have to learn to be their own guru. I think that's part of it too, to some extent.
How can we better learn how to embrace the changes that are coming?
Well, I think just to understand that the nature of life is always change. The ego wants to hold on to, I know this, I'm in charge. And so we need to get out of this very materialistic, very ego-oriented way of doing things. It's not that you ignore or you deny the physical world or the pleasures of the flesh or anything like that. That's very Catholic. You want to embrace it all because you are here in the physical, but you have to also detach from it. So again, there's that dual nature. I'm like being in the world, but not of the world. That's a very ancient kind of a Hindu technique. And Jesus Christ kind of talked about that too, and basically all religions have that essential teaching,
I understand that you're still teaching courses online?
Yeah, and I'm actually teaching through this organization called Magicus University. And so I'm doing a workshop this Sunday online. You can go to their website. And I'm teaching about learning astrology with the tarot. So that's at 11:30 a.m. That's Pacific Daylight Time. And I'm going to continue to work through them. And I also give my own workshops. And, when I'm back in Toronto, I'm doing things. And I'm still doing Zoom workshops and things like that as it feels, necessary.
Tara, what is the website that people can go to so that they can enroll or they can register for your course that you're giving Sunday?
Yeah, through my website, taratarot.com, which I'm finally renovating after all these years. So you can just get in touch with me through that. I'm also, while I'm in Sedona, it's good to take advantage of me being here because I'm totally tuned into these energies. So you get sort of a heightened reading. So I'm going to be here till May the 1st.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Do they have a lot of crop circle activity in Sedona, or do they have? I was going to say, do they have UFOs? But you already told me that.
Oh yeah,
that
tons of that. It's really big here.
How about? Yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead, dear. I was waiting for you.
Well, the crop circles, mainly came from England, and I had a friend who went there in the 90s, and he, worked with the couple that really launched that whole thing. He did a very esoteric kind of an oracle deck based on those crop circles, but you don't hear about them as much. It was almost like it was kind of a fad, and then people go through different stages with this. Now it's more like we want to acknowledge that we're seeing ETs, that people are having these experiences, or they're channeling galactic energies, and I do a kind of galactic astrology as well. And so it's kind of getting bigger and vaster, as people are more aware.
Tara, how can listeners know who a good astrologer is and who isn't? Now, I've got nothing but the highest recommendations for you. I've known you all these years, and I know how hard you work and how diligent you are. But for those people who may not hear the show tonight and who are interested in going to see astrologers, how do they know who's legitimate and who's not? What are some of the red flags?
Yeah, this is the problem these days because of TikTok and Instagram. There's a lot of, everybody wants to be an astrologer because it's popular, but they don't always know what they're saying. And a lot of them are actually saying stuff that's like total baloney, right? So you have to kind of be educated yourself to say, well, what's a real astrologer? They don't go around saying stuff like this. So you have to question everything, I would say. I think it's really, like buyer beware, and a lot of young people, they're very popular because they've got the aesthetics on Instagram, or, they say popular things about, whatever it is, very blanket, and everybody goes, oh yeah. So, you have to kind of do your own research, and, you can't just do it just like that. Like with tarot readings, it takes a long time to really understand what you're doing. And it is a big responsibility because people take what you say very seriously.
Exactly. Exactly. We've got about 2 minutes left, Tara. First of all, as always, thanks for joining us. But what are your final thoughts? What message would you like to share with the members of the X-Zone Nation tonight?
I think we're moving, because we're really in some ways at the end of an age of Pisces, although different astrologers have different themes. It really is a time of forgiveness and compassion and leaving a lot of old emotional attachments behind. I think there's a really sense of gratitude as well. No matter how crazy the world looks, it's very important to be grateful. So I think, it's very important as we step into a new age here, that things come to a completion. That a lot of old karmic debts need to be settled now before you can move on. I'm seeing a lot of people going through that.
I too as well. What do you think Mother Nature would say if she had the ability to grab a microphone and say whatever she wanted? What do you think her message to people would be?
Well, I think her message, it's very interesting you asked me that. I was in this incredible womb kiva today that some woman had built here in Sedona. The Great Mother is always there. She loves her children, but you're supposed to pay respect to her. You're supposed to honor her. She will nurture you. She will make you feel safe. So it's very much a connection to the earth, honoring the earth like all the indigenous people have always had. We don't own it. We're only stewards here, So I think Mother Earth would say, you have to treat her with respect. That's all.
Tara, the time has come when you and I must say so long, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here on the X-Zone, Tara. And please, safe travels, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet and share some more
Thank you
information.
so much, Robin. All the best to all the listeners as well.
You take care of yourself, Tara.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My pleasure.
Blessings.
Blessings to you too. And that's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And like I said, tomorrow, another day. Don't forget, April 28th, please go out and vote. And what else can I say except it's a great life. This is a life that we can make a difference, and every little positive difference is felt, believe it or not, around the universe. So until tomorrow night, always remember, Exo Nation, to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night now.